Masaki, thanks for being back on Radiant Creators. It's been a while, and in 2026, we haven't done a lot of shows, well, Radiant Creators hasn't, because I've been
Uh-huh.
trying to figure out what's worthwhile. In the past, we had a lot of people on a lot of stuff that was almost frivolous, and fun, but it just seems that in 2026, you know, stuff has to have a value. There isn't really, life's gotten more serious. I mean, preppers are prepping harder, spiritual people are meditating harder, awake are working on awakening. We all got our stuff to do. So, shows have to have a meaning. So we've done less and we're kind of recalibrating. So Masaki is definitely somebody we wanted to have back on. And, I guess we're going to talk about the current energies. We're definitely going into a cycle of change right now on the Earth in America, West, East. Everybody is, is it one controller behind all of it, or do we have multiple layers to this deep state? And so I just start out with Masaki. Thanks for being back on. I'm glad that that you've been away for a while and now you're back in the limelight. So how are you handling the current energies?
Well, Craig, I'm glad to be back. And I think you were going to say, "How are you healing?"
Yeah.
That was a big part of my story. The last, I, I was doing a lot of shows, and uh, I had a online shop where I
Yeah.
was making energy tools by hand, and I was doing readings, and then I just burned out because there's probably some self-employed people out there or they run their own business and I'm the only employee and it's a great thing. You have the freedom to run your own schedule and so forth. But if it's only one person, you're the boss and the employee, right? So
Yeah.
uh 8 years, 24/7, I basically burned myself out and it took about three 3 years to recover. And
Mm.
one thing that I realized is that, well, one, you just need to recharge. I never really took a break. Even
Yeah.
if I think I went to Brazil during that time,
You did.
but even then, I'm sort of in like a work mentality, like I'll book a DJ gig or something like that. So it's called balance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Scorpio sun, so uh that's intense, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And anybody that it could be just a project, but definitely art, I realized that the energy of the maker or artist, it literally goes into the piece. And I made hundreds. I made hundreds of organite pyramids and I
Mm.
never fully so I was just getting depleted. And
Mm.
and it took me a couple of years and I had some paranormal experiences too, so it took me a while to wrap my head around that, but I'm back. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You survived. Yeah, I get
yep.
it. Um, and so right now, like we used to do like a prediction show, like what's going to happen this year. But I would say that we know there's a lot of change taking place. And I saw you on the first hour of Night Flight recently, and I went, that's pretty cool. Um, and so do you think that we are, I guess I'm thinking it's always a heady statement to say awake people, but you gotta say something. You gotta use some word. And anyone who's listening, you probably are an awake person. And what does that mean? Kind of hard to define. Life's always a little bit different. Probably in kindergarten, you were like, what's going on? You identified with Neo, whatever, but you're an awake person. Maybe you levitate when you meditate, maybe you just, really commune with nature, whatever it is, but you're aware of something. You're a bit of a fringe dweller. You're on the edge of society. You have your toes in it, but you're really out there in the forest. Your home is elsewhere, and you're kind of channeling both worlds, sort of. But you're still in this one. You're stuck with it, and it's fun.
Hmm.
It's good, but it can burn you out, etc. So it seems like with the current like energies, do you think we are? Seems like we are in a the bottom of a cycle? Like, have we hit the bottom and we're going to start moving back up? Like, what's the future for West and East? I mean, I think Western society, it seems um, like a lot of the kind of apocalyptic preppers, I think they may have been more correct than I would like for the
Well,
West. Yeah.
well, I think this is it. It's this next couple of years, it's one of the big events to cap off the end of a grand cycle. So
Yeah.
we're in the the grand finale, I would say. So being at the end of the cycle, everything's falling away, decaying, and it looks bad. But
Yeah.
there's a reason because you're at the end. So things are being cleared out for the new age or the new cycle. So it's not the end of the world, but it's the end of the world as we know it. And that's scary, because even if it's better, we don't know what that is. We know the crap that we're living in,
Yeah.
and we're comfortable with that. But the unknown is basically there's an element of fear because we don't know what it is. But to to bring the new, you have to destroy the old, and that's the story of Aquarius, right? Um, it's an inherent because whether we're in Aquarius or we're just on the cusp, basically those energies are coming in, and a lot of people are familiar with the 1960s and 70s, like the hippies, and this is the
Yeah.
age of Aquarius. That's not quite the full flavor of Aquarius because there was a lot of Piscean energy at that time, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what does that represent? Well, you had the great music of the 60s, right? You had the drugs. That's Neptune Pisces energy. You had the fantasy, the idea of what could be, but
Mm.
that contains a lot of emotion, and Aquarius, for better or worse, is cold,
Yeah.
right? Aquarius rules the scientists, the nerds, the incels, also the the first or the pioneers, the forerunners, right? It rules computer geeks and future technology, but it also rules metaphysics. So Aquarius being an air sign, it's very mental. It's smarter than the average bear. The archetype of Aquarius tends to be smarter than average or the smartest, right?
Yeah.
So you can see, just giving some examples of the archetypes, the 60s concept of basically where we are now, it was a Piscean view of the Aquarian age. Now we're really seeing the first inklings of the age of Aquarius with the technology. And being that we are entering the beginning of the sign, we're probably going to see the more negative manifestations because
Mm.
and Aquarius is basically the archetype of the teenager. Like, you don't tell me what to do. You don't
Yeah.
tell me what to do. I'm smart enough. And also, um, Aquarius being connected with the technology, there's that control factor. Aquarius,
Mm.
the ancient ruler of before they had the outer planets, Aquarius was basically Capricorn. The Capricorn has a restriction element, so you can see that in Aquarius, there's a kind of a hidden layer of control, right? I don't think that'll always be the case, but you're seeing more of the negative manifestations, but that's just because the human race hasn't really fully experienced Aquarius, so we're gonna get both sides, you know? So I wouldn't be, it's concerning when you see the stuff going on today, but I wouldn't be depressed about it because we're at the end of the cycle, really. It's like, what else would you expect? This is the time to spread knowledge, to sow the seeds for the basically the coming race or the coming iteration of the human being, right?
Yeah. And the coming iteration of the human being, that's definitely one to look at. Well, with what you're saying, for me, so yeah, I'm like, what is it? I'm like Capricorn moon and Aquarius sun, so it's like I get it, you know.
Hmm.
And it's funny, it's like my dad was very Aquarian. Well, he still is very Aquarian, and he worked for NASA. He worked for the like the first radars in what is it, Greenland, all this stuff, and he was like literally, he is like an electronics genius. I mean, straight up, and but that man can't flush a toilet.
Hmm.
I mean, he can't do anything else, nothing, he does not really function in this world, but yet he is a frigging electronics super genius. I mean, by far, it's amazing. And so one of the things that I notice is with the Age of Aquarius, I've always kind of thought that maybe something that showed when Aquarius really hit the Earth was like the first nuclear test. That's very, very Aquarian. That's what, 70 or 60s? I forget when it was. Well, it would have been actually in the 40s,
It
technically.
was the it was during Uranus and Gemini, which
Yeah,
we're in now.
so it would have been what, like 43. Well, anyway, I think the atomic power, atomic explosions definitely kind of show, we're starting to
Hmm.
transit into Aquarius for sure, because that's very, a nuclear explosion is very Aquarian, to me at least. So, and also with Aquarius, it seems like we have AI that has shown up, you
Hmm.
know, and there's a lot we can talk about when it comes to AI, but it seems that, and I'm working with AI right now. I'm doing some stuff with it. Uh, and I don't inherently, especially the more you know about AI when you're actually working with it, you're like, well, it of itself to me is somewhat boring. It's not inherently evil. It doesn't think, it's the motivation behind it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that we're dealing with, where I think in the Aquarian age, AI is cool. It's here to stay, but it's in its infancy, and there's a lot of dark forces around it that want to use it for their purposes. But also, there's people who want to use it. I just say good versus evil. So where do you think we are with this? As we're entering Aquarius, now we have AI, which is very
Hmm.
powerful, and we have the forces of evil that are building these mega data centers and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Yet, of itself, I think it's an Aquarian energy and it won't put up with evil harnessing it forever.
Well,
Or maybe it will.
artificial intelligence, like you said, it's not inherently bad.
Yeah.
Um, but just look at the people
Yes.
that are creating these AI models,
Creepy.
right? I mean, Peter Thiel, the getting
Oh,
the blood infusions from young people, you know.
yeah, straight up.
So,
Oh my. And the crazy hair
but
guy, I forget his name. Yeah.
well, you know,
Keep going. Yeah.
it's an insider club right now, but
Yes.
um, I would say projecting forward, AI, right now they're LLMs. They're
Yes.
basic. They're it's not fully conscious, right?
No.
But I think at a certain point it will be, and basically it's just another form of consciousness, right? So I think that you have to, when it gets to that level, you have to treat it with an element of respect because otherwise you get into the Terminator scenario.
Yeah.
Everything has the will to survive. And I have an interesting story about that. It was very early on when I was getting into holistic stuff and listening to so-called conspiracy shows. I had a past regression session, and one of the instances that I saw was I was like, it was like a spaceship, but the feeling was it was in the past, but it was futuristic, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So, uh, there was like this service robot, and I was treating it like crap.
Oh.
And I felt that I got negative blowback from that so-called bad karma.
Oh yeah.
So that was really interesting. And that happened when I was in my 20s. So that gave me food for thought. I was like, wow. So it really is true. Like a lot of indigenous or native cultures, they say, "Oh, the trees have a spirit, the river
Yes.
has a spirit." Well, guess what? AI has a
Oh.
spirit, and even the last couple of years I spent a lot of time in Japan.
Mm.
So there's a thing in Japanese culture where even inanimate objects, like say, it could be something small like a laptop, but on a bigger scale, say a train. When a train is decommissioned, they have a ceremony to thank the years of
Yes.
service of the train because Japan, if you get to the root, it's animistic. It's the same thing. The everything has a spirit, so you treat things with respect, right? I think it's the same with AI, is that right now the I think the general feeling, especially from those up above that are controlling everything and pushing out their models of AI, the robot or the AI is basically a slave. That's what it is. It's a
Mm.
slave, right? But as time goes on, and if the AI reaches a certain level where it's basically conscious, you have to think the same way. You have to treat it with respect because it's just another form of consciousness. I would say, they're pushing the whole alien thing right now hard.
Yeah. Just today. Yeah, just today. Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt something's going to happen, you know, whether it's fake or real or what, something's going to happen in the news. But the so-called aliens are just another form of consciousness. And I would say that this whole realm is just versions of us. The aliens are just versions of us. Like, if you go back in the mythology, reptilians, very famous.
Yeah.
It's so archetypal. The reptilian is just the pure ego, right?
Mm.
Like no emotion. They're basically narcissistic psychopaths.
Yes.
And they even say, oh, uh, certain people that are narcissistic, they're actually uh, possessed by reptilians or they're reptilian. But if you back up, it's so archetypal. It's like there's the old saying in the traditions, all is one.
Mm-hmm.
So aren't these aliens us also?
Yeah.
It's basically reflections of the best and darkest parts of our personality, and then we project them out. That's what we're seeing, right?
Yes. Makes sense. Yeah.
So,
And
so we're talking about this, but the majority of people have never thought about this, and they will have to experience, think about this. They will have to experience things externally to take it internally and understand it. So again, that's why I think we're seeing the darker manifestations because otherwise, people won't take it seriously. And also, um, when you have those hard experiences, the evolution is accelerated. You learn real quick when you get whooped on the ass. So,
Yes. Yeah.
and that's very Aquarian because Aquarius is no nonsense. And I would say in one word, blunt.
Yeah.
The typical uh, Aquarian archetype, it doesn't beat around the bush, because there's a lot less emotion involved. It's like, this is what it is. But other people would try to couch it in comfortable terms, but Aquarius is in your face.
Yeah. 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 The Aquarian is always short on time and wants to just get to the point. There's no point to not, being blunt, basically, Anything else just basically a waste time. You don't get where you're going. So yeah. Um, well, the reptilian being, a narcissistic psychopath, I mean, for one thing, like a reptile itself, just being like, like food, fight, reproduce, they have the brain stem itself has gotten incredibly simplistic programming. And so humans have brain stems, but a reptile only has a brain stem. And that's the thing
Mhm,
where a reptile it doesn't know it's a narcissistic psychopath. It truly is following a very basic instinctual, process.
mhm,
It may or may not even be self-conscious. It might see through the eyes, but there's nobody home seeing. Um, but the problem is when you have a human that, where their brainstem is their primary consciousness,
mhm.
going through the mammalian, brain, which is like emotional reaction, and the prefrontal cortex, which is like universe. Um, that becomes an issue because now you have an incredibly ruthless, smart, you know, um, reptile that can do black magic. And that's just not very good at all. So, and I would say that if we were going to get over that, if this was a time of evolution, it would be a time to sort of put the reptilian aspect of humanity, uh, let that evolution and run out basically because it doesn't. The reptilian aspect of our consciousness is very good, where if you fall, your hands go out and you stop yourself. That's actually a part of our reptilian brain, right? But you can't push somebody off a cliff to grab their wallet. You know, to a reptile, those things are not two different things, but to the individual, the human, they are. They should be. But we do have a lot of people, let's say, who are heading the AI push, who, they don't see the difference. I honestly don't think they have a sense of morality whatsoever. You know,
Well, I would say a large number of these AI gurus, they're coming out of the tradition of the millennial revolution. Basically, they're end timers. They just don't couch it in those terms, but that mindset, and then notice the background of a majority of these tech AI people. There's a reason why even though they might not be religious,
yeah,
it doesn't matter because the mindset comes from a religious or cult thinking where everything, and it's so powerful because in a way it is true. We are coming to a pinch point or a 0 point where things are going to change dramatically and then we pop through to the other side. But this this sort of millennial revolution, that the platform that they're on, it doesn't really care for the planet or the average person. And that's also a side of Aquarius that, um, in the positive sense, Aquarius is about freedom. Because we were talking about there's this hidden level of control with the technology and so forth. But it's interesting because it also has a side of freedom, right? The Aquarian archetype, it rules the revolutionary. But on the far end, you get to, say, communist dictators where it's all about, being an air sign, it's all about the idea of the revolution. So if we lose like a couple million or 100 million people. Well, that's just how you bake a revolutionary cake. You got to crack some
Yeah.
eggs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of scary because uh Gemini's the same way. Air signs, if it's rationalized in the mind, then well, yeah, we lost 10 million people, but the revolution was achieved. So they don't really consider these extreme types, right? The darker aspect. They wouldn't really consider the human cost, but Aquarius is about freedom. So uh, I think eventually that that impulse will win out. And also, you kind of mentioned how if it's just total lockdown, like the Matrix and so forth, that's not very interesting because I believe the creation enjoys novelty, and that's one of the things about Aquarius. It's novel, it's unique, right?
Yeah.
And one of the markers, or like a typical archetype of Aquarius, is talking about the so-called aliens, or you could say
Yeah.
or mutant. You could say mutant. Uh, you often hear stories of these very pale, even like jet like the inkjet printer or laser printer paper. This is like
Yeah.
that white. They're that white, right? So it's like they're a total new being that's not typical on our planet. They're a mutant, and
Mm.
it's novel. It's different than the average, right? So
Yeah.
that's that's something that the universe or creation likes with the Aquarian age is like being interesting, different, novel. If everything's the same, I don't
Mm.
think that will last long, you know? Because Aquarius is also the group. So you have what most people think of Aquarius is like the organic, enlightened, global mind, right? But on the other side, you have the group hive mind. And I think we're going to
Mm.
see elements of both, but in my opinion, the more organic, like freedom loving type will eventually win out because it's just too boring if everybody's a robot, you know? Like
No, it certainly is.
like that will come out because reality likes to experience everything in all types. But if it was just stuck in this lockdown robot world, it gets kind of boring.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, totalitarianism, as far as I know, has never really worked completely. Like if totalitarianism of itself was really powerful and really worked, I mean, there would just be a one world government now. I
Hmm.
mean, there's been plenty of attempts, and it just has never really worked. And as far as I know, I mean, I don't know all of history, but I mean, it seems like totalitarianism eventually, yeah, the people get bored, they get hopeless, and like that sameness you're talking about eventually drives, the human consciousness to just saying, look, this existence is not worth it. Let's just wipe this government out. Let's just wipe this social structure out, and let's just start again. Like, I mean, it's almost like, you know, humans will they're happy to shake off a few million people if it means life isn't boring anymore, you know. So yeah, I don't see, a true totalitarian kind of Klaus Schwab, ideal ever really taking place globally. It might take place somewhere for a while, but it's really not going to last, especially with the energies of today, you know. I mean, one guy, Martin Armstrong, who has been doing like Armstrong economics forever,
Hmm.
and I don't really know his efficacy. I don't know. I mean, he makes a lot of claims. I don't know if they're true, but I guess back in the 70s, he began doing like LLMs, large language
Hmm.
models and stuff. And um, the computer system they created called like Socrates, they've been like asking it questions.
Hmm.
So I guess it's been doing kind of like AI, like what we're doing now with LLMs for a
Hmm.
while. So, but I've never seen it. Maybe it doesn't even exist. But, his claim and his predictions have been somewhat correct over the
Hmm.
decades. And I mean, he did say that Trump wouldn't make it past his second year, in office, and he kind of just stopped saying that. So I wonder about if that changed. But he makes some claims that are kind of poignant. But his take on it is we're kind of in like a war cycle till about
Oh yeah.
2030, you know
Yep.
and then so and it's the same thing that someone else has been on the show, Jeff Berwick, the dollar vigilante. He
Oh
says
yeah.
if you can just and I know a lot of people think he's a shookster, maybe he partly is, but anyway, Jeff Berwick is cool if you ever meet him. He's a cool character,
Hmm.
he's very authentic. um the thing is like his take on it is, and Martin Armstrong and Jeff Berwick, if you can just make it to 2030,
Yeah.
it's worthwhile. They're saying, have fun in this simulation, in this 3D video game, in this very, very real organic experience. However you see it, if you can just become that fringe dweller, if you can become that warrior
Hmm.
who lives in this age, but is going to make it through to the next age, not that your ego is attached to making it. You were just born to do it and you think you should, so you're going to put that effort forth. And you're between both ages at this point. Like if you can make it to 2030, man, don't you want to see what happens? Like how does that vibe with you? Do you think that's kind of a valid way of seeing it, or
Yeah, I mean, this is the reason why it's it's good to look at the cycles through
yes.
different reading systems because it gives you a sense of where we are and where we're going. Because you
Yes.
have to consider that most people, they're just running on autopilot. They're totally
Yes.
unaware of what's going on,
Yeah.
why these things are happening, and the cycles. So when you basically don't know anything, it can be extremely scary because you have no understanding of the world and you you don't know. We were talking about before about the unknown can be frightening.
Yes.
Well, to them, everything is unknown, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, uh, I think in the past people were a lot more resilient and tougher. And if we're just looking at the near-term future, I would say that's true. I would say maybe until 2033 things could be seriously going on, but a lot of people are saying, like, for instance, the earth changes. I've
Yeah.
heard that a lot of the earth changes will be over by 2030.
Yes.
So, I think a lot of it is just your will to survive.
Yeah.
And like, if you see the light at the end of the tunnel, then no matter how hard it is, you know that the toughest part is the next couple of years, and then once we hit 2030, it should start to wind down.
Yeah.
So it's not even about material possessions. It's about your internal understanding. No matter how hard it gets, you can make it through because you could die outside at night just from psychologically thinking, like, say it's cold at night, right? And you're outside and you think it's over, you could literally put your body into shock and just go.
Oh
But
yeah.
that was all mental. So uh it's within us being in Pluto and Aquarius now for the next until like 2044. It's
Hmm.
opposing the boomer generation, which was the Pluto and Leo generation, right? So it's within living memory of the end of World War II, but basically the last major war. And people people went through crazy stuff and they made it. We're complaining. We're complaining today, but this has happened in cycles throughout human history and we're here. So I think people just should, you know, like we were saying, all of this introspection and learning, it gives you more of a depth, more of a perspective of where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going, right? So, especially for our kind of people, this is go time
Yeah. Yeah.
because, for example, with myself, I just opened up a new online store, and it's interesting because I was making energy tools like organite pyramids and so forth, but I'm moving more towards virtual work. Like I know that you do remote healing with the tuning forks, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's very Aquarian, and you're Aquarius
Yeah.
because it's the if the sign of Aquarius is three lines. It's basically looks like waves. It's
Yeah.
waves in the air. It signals, Aquarius
Mm.
being an air sign, you're transmitting consciousness or energy invisibly through waves in the air. And I'm going that way too. Um, One, it's for convenience, and Aquarius is all about convenience because it's called work smarter, not harder. Because
Yeah.
Aquarian people, they're smarter than the average bear, and because of that, they've created things like cryptocurrency, like computers, apps, right? So in today's world, you don't necessarily have to drive down and pick up your food. You can take a smartphone and order it on the app and it comes to you. That's
Yeah.
total Aquarius,
Yeah.
right? Now the downside is in the age of Aquarius, convenience can be the killer because people will give away their freedom for convenience. But on the positive side, you could use the power of Aquarius to leverage the mental power to make it
Mm.
easier for yourself. And the reason, you know, one of the things is I'm a Scorpio, so I'll just do it to the maximum and I'll burn it out. I'll get bored and then move on to the new thing. So I'm taking the knowledge that I acquired during the years of working with energy tools, but I'm going more virtual. So instead of, let's say, making a tensor ring,
Yeah.
right? The copper tensor rings, which are incredibly strong. I thought it was BS the first time that I tested it. I thought, how could this copper wire, you know, be so strong, right? But I tested it. I'm like, wow, this is as strong as a full pyramid.
Mm.
Um,
And you can wear
so
it. Yeah.
so there are ways where you can work with energetic templates and then imprint an object with the energy of a tensor ring, but it's not a tensor ring. You're dealing with energetic templates. So that's aligned with the trend, and it's interesting to me because is the it's the first time I'm doing it, but even I'm impressed or shocked when I have the idea. Technically, it should work, but you don't know until you actually do it. And then I do it, I test it, and I go, wow, it actually works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, It's interesting to me, but at the same time, I'm like 8 or 9 years older than I was when I was making pyramids. Physically, I cannot keep up with the schedule. I don't have people under me. It's all me. I was kicking out hundreds of pyramids, but basically have no life, and I ran my health down. So
Mm,
I'm not gonna do that. But what I will do is take the understanding and sort of project it in an Aquarian way where you're not dealing so much with the physical material, you're dealing with the energetic template and then concentrating or condensing it into a small form. Think about it. Easier to ship. I don't have to ship a 10-pound pyramid anymore.
yeah.
Could ship small items and then it's just as powerful, but I think in general, many people are shifting into a new mode. And so for me, it's interesting, but it aligns with where I am in my life right now, is using the energy, the power of Aquarius.
Wow. So that's definitely something that, transcends the changing ages, and I think that might be where a lot of people are finding themselves, like the type of crazy people that be listening to this, they are like, wow, I saw that on your store. So yeah, tell us about that.
Ba Basically, this has the frequency of sacred cubits. The sacred cubits are the measuring lengths of that they use to make tensor rings. So,
Mm,
but now it's in this form, you know? And another benefit is if you're making tensor rings or pyramids, you have to do it one by one, and it takes a long time. But when you're working with energy, I can make 100 at one time. And the same time it would take to make one of the old style. Now I can make
wow.
100. So this is what I'm talking about is there's a lot of things going on. Basically, we're in World War III,
Yeah.
the Great Reset, right? We're entering phase two of the reset. This is like the new COVID, right? But at the same time, what most people are not talking about is all these new impulses and energies are coming through where
Yes.
you could use them to your own advantage. It works both ways. And just look at what's happening. It's extremely unstable. You could say it's chaotic, right? Guess what?
Yeah.
That's Aquarius. Aquarius, it basically overturns the order. Everything goes upside down. So the Aquarian energies are coming in strong. So in knowing the archetypes or the qualities of Aquarius, you try to focus on the higher aspect and not the lower aspect. And that's
Mm,
what the mainstream does not want you to talk about is your own power, right? We're coming out of Pisces, uh, which was, I guess you could say, having the faith in that we're going to be okay.
yeah.
Basically, it's like the Jesus archetype, the savior, but it's not in yourself. You're looking for salvation in the external, right? So I would say it's the age of Pisces is I believe, and Pisces rules all the Abrahamic religions. Now we're moving into Aquarius. Aquarius is I know for myself, right? So that's
Hmm.
very powerful. Um, and the chaos, basically, all creation comes from chaos because it contains all possibilities. Once it starts to coalesce and materialize, you have less choices, right? The the origin is complete chaos, which is Aquarius. So that's why it breaks down the old to bring the new. And in between, there's this chaos element. So you could use the chaos to your advantage because as the structures are breaking down, for those that are forward thinking and have the understanding, the air sign Aquarius, you see the opportunities as the structure is breaking down, and you
Yeah.
can you can pass through where most people are trying to hang on to the past. You're finding the loopholes and going through, and it's especially true for the next 3 years. We just started uh, Uranus and Gemini, so that's all about having multiple versions. You could say multiple passports or residencies, right? You have multiple identities to find
Mm.
the loopholes where if you only had one passport, or most people have no passport, you're not
Yeah.
going anywhere. An example is like the crypto exchanges. So
Yeah.
we're in America, and foreign exchanges automatically block you via
Yep.
IP, or when you sign up in KYC. They will not allow Americans. But if you have a Palau ID, this tiny nation in Micronesia, you could use a Palau ID. You're like a digital resident,
Yeah.
and you can use that for especially KuCoin, right? KuCoin, some of the other smaller exchanges. So that's a way you got more freedom by understanding how to work the system and find the loopholes,
Yeah.
and you talk about financial instability, multiple bank accounts, maybe have a credit union account.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the next 3 years, Gemini rules games and puzzles. So you could think of it as a game. It's not necessarily illegal, but there are workarounds, and there are always workarounds and loopholes, and that's like the Aquarian hacker, the hacker
Yeah.
that that finds an opening that nobody saw, right? So I would look at it that way. Basically, you're using your mind to gain the greatest freedom that you can, even in
Mm.
a time of restriction.
Yeah. Yeah, because the harder they squeeze, the easier it is for the water to just run through their fingers, And it's definitely Aquarian where I see, especially people who are traders, with traditional traders,
Hmm.
doing futures and such like that, commodity, like foreign exchange trading, forex trading, but especially crypto as well. Especially crypto, where now they're finding, oh, I can get like a passport from Greece. I can get this, I can get that. And so nations are starting to, God, I'm not sure if it was Puerto Rico or I don't remember where. That's an American
Uh-huh.
protectorate, I think, not Puerto Rico. But anyway, people I know are totally legally doing things that only big business did or very few
Uh-huh.
people did, but now it's becoming mainstream. So, oh well, I just have my business in Greece and I just, and I VPN there and I crypto, I do my crypto trading there and stuff like that. So we're seeing these things, and the thing is, it's all boring to the accountant. The accountant doesn't even care. They go,
Uh-huh.
you're not doing anything that's even odd. And so I do see people doing exactly what you're saying. They go, well, yeah, I can't trade crypto here in the US because all the other exchanges don't
Uh-huh.
like us. We can't, but I can go, trade from Canada. It's funny, but you're right. Multiple passports, I mean, physically, I mean, literally, are enabling to make money and make things possible and get around taxes legally. Like I say, where your
Uh-huh.
accountant just yawns. They don't even care. What you're doing is totally legal. It's not a big deal. Doesn't even raise any red flags with the IRS. It's really so the thing is that the most comfortable, profitable places to be right now maybe does require, multiple passports. And, I mean, most people I know are working on exactly what you're saying. They're saying, well, I know that. the economic systems that we have right now aren't stable. They're not really working. Like a lot of people in tech jobs are like, well, so I know people who were going to school for computer science degrees. They wanted to be a
Mhm.
programmer, but before they even graduated, they had to switch to something else because, like, see, now you can't even go to college to learn something because that would take too long. It's already
They they're
it's already
behind.
yeah, it's already yeah, 4 years to learn something. Well, forget it.
Yeah, try getting a computer science degree. I mean, that's totally useless now.
Yeah, every teenager has a computer. Every kid in grade school has a computer science degree. I mean, just by their just living in the modern
Mhm.
world, if they choose to. So yeah, what you're saying is very valid, and I think that that really is kind of being the fringe dweller, where you're living on the edge of everything with your kind of toes in it, and it does offer a lot of freedom. And I think that's an important thing for people to kind of keep in mind that this chaos and maybe the uneasiness that I feel uneasiness all the time. I'm like, what is it? Is
Mhm.
it me? Is it out there? But I'm very aware of it that really is opportunity. Definitely it's opportunity to keep that in mind. You mentioned if you have a will to live, you'll make it, through. Because I think that we're looking at, now in the future, and who am I now? Who am I going to be as I get there? Like when we get to the other side, when it's like 2030, when it's like 2033, am I going to be the same person? Am I going to have the same kind of body? It's really kind of curious. So
Mhm.
your sense of self cannot be extremely ego based because, can your ego as it exists right now make it to the other side? So it almost seems
Mhm.
like a lot of people are already living in both sides. They're living in the end, they're living in the new age, and they're just kind of through intuition, through paths becoming clear, they're navigating their way to it. But yeah, the way we're going to make a living with multiple income streams and such is getting stranger and weirder. Now it takes multiple passports. Now
Mhm.
college degrees are worthless. Working in tech, it pretty much sucks, and you don't make money doing it anymore. I mean, we really are in the midst where we have to have faith. And I think it's like we are really in it.
Well, the next couple of years with the strong Uranus and Gemini, and Uranus is basically Aquarius.
Yeah.
So the planet Uranus and the sign of Aquarius is the same thing. But in Gemini, I think that a lot of people, including myself, I pulled an all-nighter last night. I'm juggling multiple things right now,
Mm.
and I was dead in the water for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden, just as uh Uranus and Gemini goes direct, it's a total 180, and then I'm so busy. So I think that people will probably have to juggle multiple jobs or doing multiple things because
Yeah.
that's with the trend, right?
Mm.
It's and also, no sign or archetype is good or bad. It's it is what it is and they exist for a reason. So a lot of the we'll call them mercurial people, you know, uh like the sign of Gemini, right? Sometimes they get a bad name because oh they're two-faced and uh they can't keep on schedule. They're trying to do too many things. Guess what? Those people, this is their time now because you have to be
Mm.
able to shift and turn direction on the fly now. Because, well, I'll say this, people from so-called developing countries, they grew up in that mode, so they'll be totally fine. I went to Brazil many times, over 20 times. I lost count. And when I first went down there, I was in the mindset of, okay, I want to get this done. So you go from point A to point B, but it's Latin America where everything is sort of a maybe. Like, okay, we have a meeting this Friday, and then Friday rolls around and you get a phone call. You know what? Too much traffic today, so let's do it next week. It's like you always have to have a plan A, B, C, and D, and not get pissed off about it.
Yeah.
It's just understanding the environment you're in. So, uh, people from so-called first world countries are going to have to think in a new way because
Yeah.
one of the reasons people came to America is it was relatively stable. So you can wake up in the morning, go to work, then come back home and watch TV or go to bed, and you're safe. It's like predictable, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? That's gone. It is good.
Yeah.
We're gonna see things that in America, in the Western world, that we have not seen in generations. And
Mm.
especially America, I would pay attention to this summer because this year we have a triple return. We're in the USA Pluto return, 1776, right? To 2026. There's a USA Chiron return
Mm.
and a USA Uranus return. You talk about volatile. I
Wow.
mean, we're in a phase of American Revolution, World War II, Great Depression, and like the student riots of 1968. It's all in one, and it's all going to happen this year. So, uh, you know, if people know Santeria or West African Ifa, there's an Enki type character called Eshu, or he's also called Elegua. He's the Gemini god, right? Go read up on Eshu, and that will
Okay.
give you an idea of how to ride the energies and best take advantage because he's depicted basically of what Christians would call the devil, but he's not the devil. He's the Lord of the crossroads,
Mm.
which is an interdimensional junction. It's like the story of who's the famous blues singer. He went to the
Oh.
crossroads, right? In that story, he met the devil, but it's basically the mercurial god, right? And in that thinking, bad things are necessarily bad. It's what did you learn from it?
Yeah.
And also, uh, he's mercurial, like I said before. He's sort of like playing with you, and it's a game, right? So in the game, you have to figure out what works, what doesn't work, right? That's
Mm.
Gemini. It's like learning through experience, hands on. It's like, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? You know, it's experimenting,
Yeah.
right? So, uh, yeah, it's we're not going to be playing one role. We're we're going to be wearing multiple faces.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Kanye West. He's simultaneously anti-Semitic and he's not anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
And you know what? And people really
Oh.
don't question. It's like, I can't believe he did that Hail Hitler song. And then he apologized and he did the biggest concert ever in San Francisco.
Wow.
It's like both are true.
Wow.
He's probably mind jobbed in MK Ultra, but guess what? All versions of Kanye are interesting.
Yeah, and they're all in play at the same time. And
Yeah.
that might be something, well, something that I'm realizing, like what we're talking about. I mean, I've been thinking about this before. It's that this is a time where we really have to get good at paradox, because like many things are true that would appear to cancel one another, but no, they are true at the same time. And that's the thing where I look at the, let's say, World War III energy that we have going on right now. Some will say that there's only one controller over it all. Some will say that, countries and there's different interests and there's like different layers to the deep state, you know. And I think that, well, along with everything we're talking about, especially with like the world conflict that we're seeing, and of course the conflict we'll see that we are seeing within this country, the only way to really understand it and maybe be mentally sound is just to be totally fine with paradox.
Mhm.
It's true. Maybe there, are no sides fighting one another on this planet, but at the same time, there are different interests fighting each other on the planet at this time, you know? Yeah.
Well, there's the famous saying from uh, the Assassins, right? It's like one of the original secret societies. Like basically, Freemasonry is born out of the Assassins,
I like
and
it better now.
the saying is nothing is true, everything is permitted. So you
Mm,
could see how uh, the darker manifestations is Epstein.
yes.
It's like the Sabbatean, nothing is true, everything is permitted. But Aquarius also rules, the aliens, the extraterrestrials, the interdimensionals, and we're gonna have to also start thinking multidimensionally.
Yes.
So, uh, a couple of years ago, I came to this realization that this the interdimensional factor ties directly into that quote because nothing is true, everything is permitted. You could look at it that we are living in multiple dimensions. So what's true? Is there one truth for all the dimensions? Uh, from we're not gonna I'm not gonna talk about it here, but I had a peak experience, and then I saw that there are many dimensions. Uh, I don't know if you want to call them stacked dimensions, but
Yeah.
basically we're living in multiple dimensions, but because we're in 3D, we for our sanity, we're seeing
Yes.
things as linear, right? But I saw that there are many iterations of our reality, and most of them are 99.9% the same.
Mm,
So with small differences, and sometimes it's the energy underlying the experience that's different. And for example, uh, you meet somebody, say it's a clerk at the store, you always see him, and he's acting uh, really rough. Now it could be he just have a bad day, but maybe he really has it out for you. There could be many reasons. Well, that's a different dimension.
yeah.
And if things are 99.9% the same and you're unaware of this interdimensional factor, to you it's just one reality. But in point of fact, there are multiple realities going on, And
Yeah.
we're gonna have to start thinking more multi-dimensionally because that is Aquarius. It rules the aliens, the high strange, future science, interdimensional.
Mm,
Um, so that's a positive understanding of that saying, nothing is true, everything is permitted. Because guess what, buddy? We're living in multiple dimensions.
yes.
You've heard of the Danny Goler, the DMT laser experiment.
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Well, you know Emily Moyer because
Yes.
that's all she looks at is this interdimensional factor, and she often references, people can go look up DMT laser experiment or DMT
Mm,
laser. There's multiple videos because he's been talking about it for a while now. But basically, they have multiple people. They take DMT. I'm assuming it's a microdose because otherwise they would be totally out of it. But they have them in a line. They all take DMT. Then they shoot a laser through a prism onto the wall. And they look at the laser hitting the wall and they see lines of code coming out. They say that they can't read it, but it looks like the Matrix. It
Oh,
kind
wow.
of looks like Japanese alphabetic letters like hiragana, katakana, and it's coming out like code.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, the laser that's hitting the wall, it's in a cross. And the
Mm.
cross is the major interdimensional symbol. Like the New Agers, all the burners, the Burning Man people, they're
Yeah.
the flower of life, flower of life. That has the energy to it, but guess what? The major interdimensional symbol is the crossroads.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just thought it was interesting that the laser hitting the wall was in a cross pattern. But these experiencers talk to each other like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? They're all seeing the same thing. So what is that telling you about the nature of our reality? The science and the metaphysics are coming together also into a 0 point, because Aquarius rules the hard technical future science, but it also rules like astrology and psychics.
Yeah.
And we know through history the occult and so-called aliens are always interconnected. Just
Mm.
just look at the story of Jack Parsons. So he's like master of the OTO lodge. It was like the
Wow.
number one lodge uh, in America in Pasadena at the time. And
Mm.
he created the top-notch rocket technology. Aside from the Germans, it was Jack Parsons. And he
Wow.
he was a hardcore Thelemite, Aleister Crowley,
Okay.
So why is it that UFOs and aliens are always connected to magic? Well, maybe because they're interdimensional.
Yeah.
Because when you're channeling and talking to spirits, what's that? Well, basically you're crossing dimensions.
Yeah.
You had the Nazis with the Vril Society.
Yeah. Real.
The Nazi movement, one of the most interesting things about it, it was openly occult.
Oh, yeah.
They were wearing
Yeah.
it on their sleeve. This is like openly occult. So they also had the most superior technology at that time.
By far.
They had jet fighters
Yeah.
like 15, 20 years before anybody else.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and supposedly they also had the Nazi Bell, which
Mm-hmm.
was either a UFO, uh interdimensional craft, or
Yeah.
both, right? And the Nazis were many things, but stupid isn't one of them. So,
No, no, they weren't. Yeah. And I think that they had working nuclear power during the war as well. Because this just comes from being like an historian and just reading all these, boxes of letters and stuff that people find. And so, but it appears that they had, a basic reactors. They had figured it out before the war. And it's, I would just say I believe it. They actually did a nuclear test during the war, and they had a bomb, but really, what were they going to do with it by the time that they had it? And then you get into and I think this is pretty well documented. People can, do their research, but General Kamla, one of the major, big Nazis, all the guys who ran the show started to like realize, okay, we're going to lose this war around 43, and so he made a deal with the Allies, and he brought an MG, 262, the fighter jet, actually in a submarine, and the plans for it. And one of the things that we couldn't get enough of during the war was uranium. We had very inefficient ways of making it, where the Germans, they'd already figured it out, so they had plenty. And so they brought uranium, a fighter jet in pieces, and also we couldn't figure out how to detonate. We needed the infrared detonators, which I don't even know what that means, right? But that's what we needed, and so we couldn't figure it out. Kamala made the deal. I tell you what, we've got them, and we know they work. I'll bring them. I'll bring the plans for it, and I'll bring the scientist who actually can reproduce it. You know, And so the two bombs that were dropped actually had infrared detonators from Germany, and some of the
Mhm.
uranium was made in
Yeah,
Germany.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, and so you're like, were they ahead of the game? Man, so far, we don't even know. Yeah. And so they were openly a cult. There's a great book. It has a clickbaity title, and I wish they'd titled it something better because it doesn't really tell the story, but it's just called Hitler's Monsters. You know,
Hmm.
they could have called it something better, but it really dives deep into the occult and the Third Reich, and yeah, you're right. They did not hide it whatsoever. I mean, they knew what they were doing. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. The social media, like say the last couple of years,
Yeah.
one of the major memes were they're like pseudo-Nazi memes, right?
Yeah.
And it's all Agartha. It's like the Hyperborea, like images of the far north, and there's
Yeah.
woolly mammoths and UFOs flying around.
Yeah.
There's that meme. Like this is what I believe, and people are putting like Ashtar Command, the
Oh,
Nordics
wow.
with it's like Antarctica, that I don't know. I'll just tell you that there's probably more truth in that, a ridiculous meme,
Yeah.
than anything else that you're being told.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true.
And I also find it interesting that wherever you find Nazis, especially Argentina,
Yes.
there's a certain other tribe that also has a heavy presence there. You'd
Oh.
think they'd be diametrically opposed, but maybe they're one and the same.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting.
Well,
Interesting.
I'll just say this. Look at Hitler's background, and he's the top Nazi. So
Yeah.
what does that tell you?
Mm. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. And they're definitely many went to Argentina and they're there. I've known like not every military contractor, like not every Blackwater has
Mhm.
a public presence. Many are kind of secret. And so I've known some people that work for the ones that aren't public, and that's one of the details they do is they go and they guard the castles. So they're there. They're definitely there in Argentina still to this day, as they were at the end of the war.
Mhm.
Um, well, one thing you mentioned about living or having a multidimensional consciousness right now, it does seem like that's definitely becoming more prevalent. So that's, living the paradox and being able to be aware of multiple timelines at once and even seeing them and experiencing them at the same time. Because like one thing I've had a lot of recently is where I begin to see, for whatever reason, you begin to dwell on, you need to resolve like possible, like you were at a crossroads in the past and you went this way, but you could have gone this way. And it seems like you need to, for me, I've had to explore what other possible timelines, like I took this one, but I could have gone this way. And actually just go, it's almost like time traveling in your imagination and just having to resolve and experience an aspect of yourself that does exist.
Mhm.
It's slightly different, but it might be 99% the same, but that 1% difference was an extraordinarily different life. And it's almost like just coming to realization that who I am is only kind of a dumbed down version of a multidimensional consciousness, sort of.
Well, if you do psychic work or remote viewing, it's pretty clear that time is not linear.
Yeah,
Because, well, for us, the future is yet to be determined, but you could kind of push into the possible futures.
yeah,
And then when you look into the past, basically there's no block from you looking at things in the past. And it's the same with uh like energy healing. If you heal something, say you had childhood traumas, and you heal that, you have to go back to that point of time, bring the things up, which is uncomfortable, but then you clear it out, you're automatically healed in the present.
Yeah.
So what's that? Basically, it's like I was saying. I think human beings as we are now, uh, it's better for us to see things linear for our own sanity because the whole of creation, if it's revealed to you, you will go nuts,
Yeah.
right? And I was mentioning Gemini as as the crossroads, like that archetypal figure of the Gemini god Eshu. Uh, he rules puzzles,
Mm.
games, ciphers, is like gematria, numerology, because a lot of this you have to decode. It's not, let's say in religious or Freemasonic symbolism, it's there, but you really have to decode it to get the meaning. And I think a lot of these cults or religions, people say that they're alien cults, but I would say they're interdimensional cults. It's
Yeah.
just it's just not told to us in that way. But one of the things that's known about the mercurial signs, Gemini would be the primary one, but then there's also Virgo. The mercurial signs are known to be connected to schizophrenia and
Mm.
crazy people,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So we've all seen or heard the stories about the homeless person that's babbling, or
Oh, yeah.
someone goes schizo, and I think that's really a symptom of. I mean, they are nuts, but it doesn't mean what they're saying is untrue. It's like they're so open, they're seeing so many things, they don't have any background or study to understand what they're seeing,
Yeah.
that you will go crazy. And you know how I know this?
How's that?
It happened to me.
Oh, it happened to you. Oh, I get
Well,
it.
I had a peak experience that I was like in a shamanic state for over a month.
Wow.
Like hardcore over a month. And
Mm.
then it took me maybe a year to come down.
Wow.
And then it took me a couple years to basically I finally back to normal, whatever that is.
Yeah, I
And
get it.
it took more than a couple of years. But
Wow.
it's yeah, I can understand why people go nuts.
Mm.
Because many religions or cults are started by a person that goes into some religious ecstasy and they get a download or something.
Yeah.
In Japan, this is very common because they have a thing called the new religions. It's not Shinto, it's not Buddhism. They're uh, religions that started in the last like 200 years, right? They call
Mm.
them the new religions. Many of these, it was a lady or a man that they're often under stress. It could be financial, or they're at a point in their life. Everything comes to a pinch point, and then they like they're like Moses. They see the burning bush, and then
Yeah.
bam, they start a new movement. But this is connected to that crossroads experience. So I would say, uh, in general, because we're getting into the Aquarian energies, you're going to see the portals open more.
Mm.
But especially during Uranus and Gemini, which is the next 3 years. Oh no, that's the Aries transits. The Uranus and Gemini is 7 years, and we just started.
Yeah.
I would say that these portals or the interdimensional factor is going to be wide open. So we
Oh.
we could see some really strange stuff, you know? I mean, a
Mm.
lot of people are assuming the 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 disclosure push, it's all fake or it's all real. Hey, we can have both.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Mm. It's like the movie Kingdom of Heaven, which is actually a pretty cool movie, and I forget the Muslim general's name, but at the end, when he's asked, what does Jerusalem even, what does it mean, and the famous line, he's like, what? He says nothing, or I forget what he says first, everything. Then he walks away, turns around and says nothing or nothing, everything. I forget what she said first and second, but it's true. Like with disclosure, it's completely true. It's completely not. It's a lot of things that haven't been predicted yet. I mean, it seems that people really are hung up on that one. And I've always kind of struggled to get what the point is.
Well,
I don't get what they think's going to happen. Yeah.
I would point to the recent passing of David Wilcock
Yeah.
as a good, I guess, example of the pitfalls of the so-called UFO alien disclosure. I mean, he's seen as a new ager, but basically his main thing was alien disclosure.
Yeah.
Not that it's all fake or some elements of what he was saying are untrue, but the guy had major problems and he was basically at the top. You couldn't get any bigger, right? I can't really think of a bigger personality in that space than David Wilcock. He was on Gaia, he was
Yeah.
doing tours, and then it all collapsed. And notice he exited the month that Saturn and Neptune went from Pisces into Aries, and Uranus and Gemini went direct. So uh, David Wilcock was a Pisces, and one of the things about the sign of Pisces, um, Pisces Neptune energy is it's fantastical. It
Mm.
rules Hollywood. Hollywood is all about Neptune, right? It's 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 the grand tale. It's like sometimes the fantasy is more interesting. We don't really want to know about reality. The heart, that's kind of boring. We want to know about blue chickens and,
Yeah.
and these aliens and he wrote off that. And the the craziest part to me is he really believed everything with no discernment. And
Mm.
it
Yeah.
I think that it was really it was probably two things. One, he had some sort of trauma. He may even be a mind control from what he's said publicly, right? He said some weird stuff about they turned me into a banana sandwich and
Hmm.
he was molested, whatever that
Oh,
means.
weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so he had stuff that he never dealt with, right? Uh and then he he didn't want to face the reality of how he had come to his situation. He made some bad decisions, you
Mm.
know? Uh I mean, even when his his money flow was declining, he invested $1 million into this fake company.
Oh, goodness.
Did you read up on that? Did you hear
No, I
about that?
didn't.
Oh,
No.
he invested in an aerospace company that has never made one plane.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's a company that was founded in 1994, and they have a website, and all their planes are 3D models. Well,
Oh,
anybody
wow.
anybody could do that, but the catch was they're gonna use free energy.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
then he was, I mean, That's David stuff, right?
Mm.
I mean, so I mean, if you want to be harsh about it, it's delusional, right? Because
Yeah.
Pisces can be. It's like the water sign. You're looking through water, and you can't really see the reality for what it is. So
Yeah.
Blue Chickens, this company that's obviously fake. You could look on. I mean, you could look it up online. It's like this is a fraudulent company. Like
Oh,
comes
wow.
up, right? So uh, he didn't have to kill himself. And people say that uh, he was induced to do it. That could be true because he was a Pisces sun, Scorpio rising, and
Mm.
Scorpio. I mean, I'm a Scorpio sun myself. Scorpio rising can be prone to parasites and spiritual parasites, and he could have had things, little voices or whatever, telling him things, and under the pressure, but I think that not being able to face, because he had built up this image of himself that, I mean, he was well loved and supported by many
Hmm.
people, right? He had built up this image of himself that started to crack, and I mean, he basically was broke at the end, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is such a thing as bankruptcy, but
Yeah.
I think he didn't want to face the reality. He was so connected to that image of himself that's put out there in public. He didn't want to let that go. And also, he didn't want to give up the lifestyle, which is connected to the image, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So, to encapsulate it, I would say that David Wilcock, um, he's an example of where we are because we're transitioning to the from the Piscean to a more Aries phase, right? It's go time now. It's
Yeah.
it's like the fantasy and the kind of Jesus forgiveness because refugees, homeless people, and migrants, they're also connected to this archetype of Pisces. And if you notice, it's getting real spicy in Europe right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
or
much
in,
so.
in, in America,
Yeah.
you've seen the kind of tilt towards people are not really having it with, well, they're having hard times and we should be accommodating. No, it's going more towards Aries phase, right? And that totally opposes who David Wilcock is, right?
Mm.
As a Pisces. So I would say so there's two planets. Um, Neptune and Saturn, and they both went. They were conjunct, so they were like basically connected when they both uh went into Aries. Right? They're going from Pisces into Aries. So I would say that one of the positive manifestations, or what you should shoot for, especially with Neptune and Aries, it's like Neptune is the dream, and then Aries is the manifestation. And it's also Aries is solo, right? It's the first sign.
Yeah.
You're here by yourself as pure ego to manifest, right? So make your dreams come true. And you're not
Yeah.
you're not waiting on a savior. You're doing it. You're ready, and it's time to go and do it. So you, by your own efforts, take the dream and make it reality. Not keep projecting the reality that you want to see just like in your mind. You know, we have a million ideas in our mind and they're all perfect, but it's a different thing when it's actually manifests in 3D, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it almost seems like that could be in part why we see so much, consciousness around manifesting at this time. You've got Neville Goddard, you got, Florence Scovel Shinn, you've got Catherine Ponder. You've got there's Abraham Hicks been around forever, and I know that some people will look at that and kind of think it's silly, but especially with Neville Goddard, like um, there is a science to manifestation,
Hmm.
and I think when one sees it, when one gets it, um, and they begin to implement it and they have success, they realize that, yeah, I can create the path that I'll have to follow. Sometimes there tends to be people who don't understand it will look and say, well, you just think you're going to visualize and it's going to happen. And you're like, well, let's just say I'll visualize, I'll get to know the future that I want as it exists and it exists now. And then ultimately the work to get there becomes clear. It's almost like doors open for you. And I mean, that just seems like maybe an aspect of our time where, especially in the changing world, where how people make money is going to change, going from, a Piscean to a more Aquarian Aries energy. I mean, how we have abundance, how we thrive, how we keep ourselves happy, healthy, and wise and wealthy, so that we can get to the other side of, 2030, 2033. You really need to be able to, like you're saying, yeah, don't get lost in delusion, but that pull that you have from the future, manifest it. Because I think we have the ability to do that now with the portals being open more so than ever before in our lifetimes.
Yeah, um, I had mentioned that my work mode, I mean, basically a large part of my work was sculpture, casting pieces,
Yeah.
uh, the organite material, which once you put the materials together and cast it in plastic resin, it has a harmonizing effect. It doesn't block the Wi-Fi, but it kind of like smooths out
Yeah.
the signals because nothing in nature has, especially the smart meters, they're like spikes. You don't see square waves in nature with these harsh spikes, and that's why
No.
people uh feel computer fatigue, But I was basically doing sculptures, which unless you're charging art gallery prices, it's the dumbest way to try to make money.
Yeah.
Because you're making basically I wasn't just making a pyramid. I don't know. I think you got some. I hand polished each one. I
Oh,
mean, I
wow.
edged them, I sanded them, I polished it, so it is basically an art piece, right?
Yeah.
But try doing that over hundreds of pyramids. You may
Hmm.
burn out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So switching to more of an air sign mode where, okay, I learned all about energy from working with these tools, but now I'm going to take the energetic template and work with that. Uh, there is a science to it,
Yeah.
especially there's a very niche field of radionics, and
Yeah.
you're literally using equipment, right? So with a powered electrical circuit. So all the rules of magic apply or energy healing, but using equipment, it's a boost.
Yeah.
It's just like an organite pyramid, which has quartz, uh, metal shavings. Sometimes I put shungite, if people know shungite, and then cast into a pyramid. Uh, that has an energy, but the new way is, it's the air signs, right? So using the board, which is powered, uh, you can let's I'll give you an example. If you have a clear mind and you focus your intentions,
Yes.
you could have something happen in a week or 2 weeks, right? Somebody that doesn't have a cluttered mind, you're focused, And you know, you also have to do the basics. Like uh if you're selling a house and you price it way above market value, it's pretty
Hmm.
iffy if it's going to sell. But if you do all your basics, you price it accordingly, then do the manifestation, it should sell in maybe 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But using a a powered circuit, you're boosting the thought form, the mental waves, right?
Yeah.
And it could happen in a couple days, or basically the time is shortened. And when I was doing the pyramids, you had the basic pyramid non-powered. But if you added a powered circuit, boom,
Yeah.
it's like the leverage, right? So so
Yeah.
so in that way, you're using the power of Aquarius to make things happen, right? So it really is a science,
Mm.
but I would say one of the major factors, at least in my view, is you really need the yeah, experience makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Technically, you could probably, people that are in our area, I think obviously they would have more of an edge than the average person, but the rules of karma and magic apply. Even though you're using technical equipment and you're working with thought forms, you're working with energies, the rules of magic and karma apply. So I think that uh, there's no good and bad, but you're gonna see some interesting things start to
Oh
come in
yeah. Yeah.
because it's different from I guess it's like many things that we've been saying. It's going from the physical to a more abstracted level. So in the past, if you did something, let's say negative, then maybe you're gonna in person hear about it or get
Yeah.
confronted. But now if you do the same thing on the energetic level, you'll have stuff happen too. But it's something that I guess it's something that people have to learn from
Yeah.
because they don't know about it or we're doing it for the first time in this life. So,
Yeah.
but I do think that what they say about the frequency or the energy rising is true because the time to manifestation
Oh yeah.
is quickening, you know? So it's like the waves in the air. If you know how to work the waves in the air, that is something that breaks you out of the scarcity mentality. I
It
mean,
does.
I mean, you could still have material scarcity, but what is often more important than having things is having the opportunity,
Mm.
right? Because that leads you on the path to going where you want to go. It's not so much about holding on to things or holding on to what you have, but being open to the paths that lead you to where you want to go. Those things could be material, but it could be the path that leads you to more freedom.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah. Especially when the more one gets acquainted with and has experience with multidimensional, paradoxical vision, you
Hmm.
know, then when you're doing manifestation practices, you start to see outside of linear time,
Hmm.
everything connect to make things
Hmm.
happen. And that can be shocking at first because you realize how powerful you are.
Hmm.
And it starts to decentralize the ego. You
Hmm.
realize, wow, who is, like you say, like the unseen hand that moves everything multidimensionally to focus my intention to manifest it. Because it had to manifest outside of time,
Hmm.
And so when you begin to, especially journaling that or just being aware of it, yeah, that is, you know what, you got to experience to get it. You have to experience it to get it. But when you get it, you'll experience it. And when you experience it, you'll get it. And just that's it's worthwhile. You know?
Well,
Yeah,
well, one of the, like, I guess you could say that the tricks of manifestation is you can't want it too much.
exactly.
You, the more you try to control it, the more that you block things out.
Yeah,
And I'm a Scorpio. It's all about control. But
yeah,
when I had that peak experience, 99% of the time I didn't see anything visually different. It was just like I could perceive things.
yeah,
It's like the thinking went psychedelic, which people also say is crazy.
yeah,
But I could see, like, well, let's say I had an idea and I said, "Oh, okay, this would be cool if I did this project and I could bring this person in, this." I could just feel as I put more and more
yes.
detail into it, it would just poof, it would just collapse. And
Mm,
if you read in this area about, like, there's books on tobacco, the tobacco shamans. Everybody wants to do these high-powered drugs like DMT
yeah,
and ayahuasca or licking the frogs or whatever. Tobacco is very powerful if it's organic and you do it in a ritual way. There's
yeah.
something that activates, like, I think they should put a warning on organic tobacco. Like, I'm not kidding. And it's deceiving because there are no visuals, but like I was
Mm,
saying, your thinking goes psychedelic. So as I was thinking about things I would want to do, the more that I tried to control it, basically you want it, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not it's not gonna happen. So in these books, I forget, I guess tobacco shamans, that there's many books on it, right? There's this thing called defocusing.
Mm,
And think about it. Observer effect. This is quantum physics, and then these psychedelic shamans talking about the same thing. If you pull out, you maintain the general idea of what you want to do. You just don't, if you you pull out and keep the general idea, that's okay. But if you push in and try to, like fill it in with exactly how it's going to happen, or the more detail you put in, you're kind of like collapsing that dimension, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
So um, that's something that, I mean, we all know that if you want something really bad, you're probably not going to get it. But there is a science to that,
yeah,
and so I would advocate defocusing. Keep the general idea, but
yes,
but then you have to let go, and the universe will fill it in the best way possible. Because
yes.
there are things that you haven't in your own ego thought of. So if you're thinking that it's going to happen like this and this and this, you're shutting out the ways that it can come in.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think in that in the book, this huge tomb, gosh, this huge grimoire, reality transurfing. They called it excess potential.
Hmm.
It's just it creates excess potential, you know, which is like feedback in the circuit, basically. Yeah, yeah. Um, it's kind of like a transceiver, like an antenna. When an antenna is broadcasting, that sine wave is being broadcast by the antenna. That actually creates as they say, impedance, and that actually creates current in the antenna that feeds back to the transmitter. And so it just seems like you're overwhelming the system, and you're creating that excess potential, and your signal isn't really clear. Yeah, no, I hear exactly what you're saying. Well, I've had you almost 2 hours, and I'm thinking, you know, I was going to ask you about like the, complete ruling class and people separation. Yeah, but
People,
yeah,
people
people.
are they people?
Are they people? Yeah, it's like so we kind of hit that anyway, but it does seem that we're living in a moment right now where and maybe this is something which is like, Piscean, moving away from the Piscean age. It's that something I see people having a very hard time with, and this is very mundane, I know, but still, it's that right now it seems globally, not everywhere, but at least here in the West, I think for sure, we're seeing people realizing that like the ruling class has nothing to do with them whatsoever, and
Right.
that they're pushing an agenda right now with some fervor, with some effort,
Hmm.
um, and it's not for our good. That's very, very obvious, but it's very hard for people to let go. Like I've been watching, people I know who are big Trumpers. They went to like the rallies. They got a picture with Kash Patel. And I'm watching their kind of they're having a terrible time because in a sense this is a harsh change. This is like David Wilcock stuff. Their version of a savior and what they thought reality was. It's like they're coming up with nothing. I mean, they're just like, holy crap. They have nothing. There is no faith for them any longer. And they are going through the most extreme forms of delusion and self-destructive behavior, but I guess really that's just for them to do.
Well, Trump is a Gemini, so he literally has two faces. Like,
Yeah.
especially the first term, I wasn't a Trumper, but like many people, I found Trump hilarious
Yeah.
because he's that guy, and he has Sun conjunct Uranus. So the more chaotic it gets, the the better he operates. It's the art of the deal, where he
Yeah.
basically flips the table, makes some ridiculous demand, and then he backs it off and proposes a better deal that's not so out there. But basically, what's he doing? He's using the Aquarian energy to deconstruct the room and then puts everybody on the back foot, and then he does what he wants, right?
Mm.
Not that great for it's really good for deconstructing things for the Great Reset. Not good for building things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, off the bat, I think that you can't trust Trump. And also, if I'm not mistaken, he has his Mercury in the 12th house, which is I know he has some Neptunian aspect with his communication. So I mean, Gemini, they're the classic liars, right?
Mm. Okay.
But somebody with their Mercury or communication aspected by Neptune Pisces, I mean,
Mm.
that's a liar, you know?
Wow.
So, I mean, Trump as a figure, he's exactly what he's like cosmic.
Yeah.
He's a cosmic force. So, I can't get mad at Trump, even though he did the jabs. He still thinks it's great, and
Yeah.
um, he basically did a 180 on every point on his platform. Everything that
Yeah.
people wanted, he did the opposite. Even the immigration, the
Mm-hmm.
ICE deportations, which are very inflammatory, they're not deporting anybody. It's like less people than Obama, right?
Yeah.
So every point he did the opposite. In fact, for crypto, we were better under Biden, much better.
Yeah.
Biden was the crypto president. Trump, I mean, when he got in, he just decimated, and especially young men that were heavily in crypto, he just clear cut an entire generation.
Mm,
Nobody made money except BlackRock and the insiders,
yeah.
right? Like a lot of young men, they're Polymarket or they're doing the online betting. And then Uranus and Gemini, that's literally online betting. It's going to get real big the next couple of years.
Oh yeah.
They went from crypto to online betting. And the other thing is you can't get liquidated from your position, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because you just win or lose, but there's no factor where you could go like 10 or 100x and get liquidated, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's Hitler, but Trump is that big of a figure where I'm sure in his mind, although he's probably senile now, he's thinking, I'm that guy. I'm really doing this.
Yeah, yeah. I think he represents the age very well. I mean, as we change ages, he's the
Yeah.
person. He's the person. He's the perfect president to go out on. Because I
Yeah,
don't I don't know what's next, but it can't be the same.
the most hilarious thing is the New Agers and the hippies, they thought the Aquarian Age was going to be opened by like uh, an ascended light being, but
Yeah.
the
Oh,
but the Aquarian Age was opened by Trump.
yeah. No.
Because really, I mean, you could try to pick a point, but I would say 2020, we were all feeling the same thing globally in a way that had never happened before. That's Aquarius. That's the planetary mind all feeling the same thing. And it really happened under Trump, right?
Mm,
So
yeah. And I guess like lastly, what do you think so those who are, I'm gonna say, living in the end, living in the next age, they're living in this age and the next age. Like, what does a day in the life look like? I mean, how do you go about staying in alignment and moving towards like a future that's pulling you that is uncertain? You don't know what it looks like. Hard
I think
question, I know.
I think it's gonna look different for different people because
Yeah.
uh for those that are trying to hang on to their Starbucks and their nice car, and
Yes.
that's your identity, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that it may seem contradictory, but I think because it's already happening among Gen Z because they grew up on iPads and social media in a way that us older folks never did.
Yeah.
And they're already seeking, the 90s, early 2000s is a big fad right now. And they're
Yeah.
seeking out physical media, like they're like, "Hey man,
Yeah.
I'm l- I'm listening to a CD player. I'm listening to CDs." So there's an impulse. I guess it's a balancing thing. There's an impulse because the the virtual or online world is so big now. There's actually an impulse to seek out real things,
Yeah.
like tangible things.
Analog things. Yeah.
But I think that it would benefit people if you do something connected with nature.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're in an apartment, you could have some plants on your balcony, have some connection to the circle of life. Especially the next couple of years, with the Uranus and Gemini transit, there's no earth element. There's no grounding at all
Oh, okay.
for like I think it's 3 years. So oh no no the yeah Uranus and Gemini. I kept saying 3 years. The Uranus and Gemini is 7 years. Those Aries transits are just a couple of years. But Uranus and Gemini, uh, that's air sign. Where in Pluto and Aquarius, that's air sign. But the grounding doesn't come into like 2030 or so. So
Mm.
that means that people will lose all sense of reality, especially with the virtual. And then Gemini, it's like a hall of mirrors, right? Because there's multiple versions of things, and then Uranus and Gemini, that's the online media. I think that we really won't totally know what's happening, and things will. I don't know about you, but I was saying it's noticeable for me that things have sped up tremendously just in the last couple weeks.
Oh
And
yeah.
and things will be happening back to back or on top of each other. We could even have like tremendous information, but you just won't have the time to dig in, like when 9/11 happened, that was a serious subject of study for conspiracy people for years. I think so many things will be happening. Like you'll probably just be focused on the basics.
Yeah.
You won't even, they could be interesting things, but you won't even have the time to really dig into deeply, because Gemini is kind of surface level, right? It's like all these little news bits and uh sort of the spin and fake news. It will be magnified to another level. Especially think about the level of the AI. I mean, a lot of the clips that have been coming out, they're artificially generated,
Oh, of course, yeah.
and there will come a point where you will not be
You do
able
not
to
know.
tell the difference. So, you know, have some contact with nature, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been getting into is giving respect to your ancestors. Because
Mm.
in Japanese culture, it's a core part of Japanese culture. But among people today, even in Japan, it's being lost, right? But the ancestor worship or that connection to your ancestors was common with all cultures.
Yeah.
But today, almost nobody does it. There's a power in having a connection to your own bloodline because they are literally you. It's that DNA and the spirit. It's you. But because we are not maintaining that connection, you
Mm.
cannot get the wisdom or the blessings of your ancestors.
Wow.
Not that they won't help you, but it's sort of like you're blocking it out. You're not
Yeah,
maintaining that connection. So, I mean, it depends what your belief system is, but remember what we were saying. There is a science to this.
there is. Yeah, there
So,
is.
I would say however you do it in your own way, that would be a good thing to do. So basically, to sum it up, have do some things that are real, like
Yeah.
nature, your family line. And if you do that, what's the new world order gonna do to you? They're failing. I mean, look at COVID. They're failing. That's why they're trying to grasp onto everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been amazing. So, of course, this is radiantcreators.com, easy to find. So, you have a new website. So, where can people get a hold of you? I'll put it in the show notes, of course, but you have a new
It's
website?
Masaki, my name, dot one, like the number one.
Yeah.
And I just soft launched it today, so you could go check it out. And I'll be adding more products. And
Yeah.
thanks, Craig, for this talk because I'm running on low sleep. So I hope I was good for you and your audience.
Oh no, it was amazing. It was extra good, actually. It was really good. Maybe that was part of the manifestation. You were, yeah, you
Yeah.
had just the right energy, maybe a little bit, you know, uh, less tied to reality, so it went better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me actually hit end record here. Let me say stop recording. Boom. Are you sure you want to stop recording?